Hey, all you Foxy listeners out there. My name is Tanya Fox, and you are listening to Fox Talks Business After Hours. Like brushing our teeth or brewing a morning cup of coffee, checking in on what's happening within our social media networks has become part of our daily routine for most of us. As a result, social media has become a routine marketing tactic for nearly every business these days. Business is using it to help build brand awareness, share and interact with customers, create another touch point with their advertising. And as social media landscape continues to evolve, both new and seasoned marketing professionals are constantly searching for answers on how they can best leverage social media within their businesses' marketing strategies. This is why I'm so excited for today's guest. Ashley Meadahl founded Premier Event Management in 2008 and started using social media for her business. She quickly realized the direction that business marketing was going. In 2014, she discovered just how valuable social media was when she created over $70,000 in revenue from one event, and all of that was generated by using social media advertising. This established her annual Women in Business Glow Getter Conference. In 2016, she began speaking at other conferences and teaching workshops both at home and internationally. And she's been sharing what she has learned while being in business and becoming the top of her field. She is currently on a live workshop tour across Western Canada teaching about social media. I am so thrilled when she was able to fit me into her schedule and able to do some collaborations together to be on each other's podcast. She is such a wealth of knowledge and inspiration, and she is my go-to for all of my social media questions myself. So now the thing that I love the most is that she actually has her own podcast called the Glow Getter Podcast. And you can tap into all of her knowledge as well. You can find her on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and pretty much anywhere you go for your podcasts. So we will have a link at the bottom of this one so that you can listen to her as well. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you've been in social media for a while. So what got your passion started?
That is a great question. So I started my company back in 2008, and that is really when Facebook had come out, had launched. People were really using it, and I think that's where you saw a lot of potential with it. And using that platform, and then slowly other ones have developed since then. I just realized that there's just such an amazing opportunity there for business owners to reach people that they may not reach outside of their own communities. They can reach so much further, if it's provinces, if it's their country, or just across the world. So that was really neat to watch how that developed over time. And then my passion with the social media and teaching about it really developed from when I started my conference and when I realized how far I could reach with that conference using social media and the social media marketing. And once that started happening and I was asked to speak on it and how I developed that and how I created this in a smaller community, that's when I realized how much I love teaching entrepreneurs and how passionate I was working with female entrepreneurs specifically.
That's awesome. So why would somebody use social media for their business? Or why should they? I guess I should.
That's a good question. I would say, like I just said, that you can reach so much more than your own community. You can really become, a destination business. You can have your business solely online. If you're brick and mortar, you can also extend that and reach people so much further out, and just really create brand awareness and also build a loyalty. So a lot of businesses are seeing that they can get quite the following and loyal followings through these social media platforms.
So I know that there's like way more information on this than what we have time for now in this interview, but can you just kind of walk us through a little bit of like a basic demographic for each of the sort of typical platforms? Like we'll say Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and maybe Twitter.
Mhm. So what I've seen with the trends, and like I've said too, Facebook was really the starting one. They came out and they really mastered the whole social media and kind of created what it is today. And so I would say, if you look at Facebook, you would see that Facebook is definitely the widest range of age groups, demographics on any of the platforms. So I highly recommend using that when you're starting out in business. And then I would say Instagram is really an up and coming one. They have been getting stronger and stronger, which has been awesome. And then something that a lot of people don't know is that Facebook now owns Instagram. So you're going to see a lot more happening and a lot more integration there, which is really great. Instagram definitely started out as a younger generation platform, and it's really evolved into a platform for business owners as well. So not just the preteens and teenagers using it anymore. The demographics have been rising very, very much so, and you'll see a lot of the 25, 35, 45 age range is really coming up in there. The majority is definitely still female, whereas Facebook's such a wide range, male, female, and all the ages, but you'll definitely see a higher usage of female on the Instagram platform, but the age groups are rising on there as well. With Pinterest, Pinterest is a whole different game. It's not a typical platform. It's more so of a search engine. So think like a female version of Google.
Right.
That is where they see like the highest percentage on there is definitely female. And it's a search engine. It's you go on there for a lot of different reasons. But if you're like me, then you're on there every night and searching up recipes and fashion ideas and different ways to organize your house and so much more. So Pinterest is really a search engine of images. It's a database of images, a bank, like I call it in some of my workshops, the photo bank, where you can create and gain ideas and inspirations. So it's great for product-based businesses and the service ones as well. But higher percentage of Pinterest is definitely female, and the age range I would say goes anywhere from the 20s up to the 50s and 60s and everywhere in between.
Okay.
Twitter is a little bit different. Twitter is more about a conversation platform. So you will see more on Twitter of big brands, celebrities, that kind of thing. There definitely is entrepreneurs on there. But yeah, it's just a little bit different. I would say that Twitter has a higher male usage, higher percentage of males on Twitter.
Oh, okay. And so really it's just about finding the one that you're comfortable with then, or the one that you use personally kind of thing.
Yes and no. I would say that it's definitely good to, find which one you're comfortable with or learn which one you want to put your focus in. But I'd also say it's really important to find where your target audience is. So if you don't know who your audience is, you should definitely start with that, narrow it down, and then see which platforms they will be on, because there's no point on, being on one if your audience isn't even interested in being on that platform. You're probably going to waste your time doing that.
Right. And so we see that people are constantly kind of striving and struggling to try to get as many followers as they can. So do you need to have thousands of followers to make a difference on a platform?
That is such a good question. And I see this all the time, especially in social media marketing workshops and webinars. And it's all about how to get the next so many followers, thousands, 100,000s. The big one, for example, on Instagram is to get to 10,000 followers, releases new features for you. So a lot of people feel like they need to get to that point. The biggest thing to remember that I find on these platforms is that it's not necessarily about how many you've reached, how many followers you have. It's more about the quality. So you could have 10,000 followers, but if half of them are spam or robot accounts, they're really not going to be worth your time being on there. The other thing too is that a lot of the times these platforms are playing with the organic reach versus a paid reach. And so when you have more followers, then that number of organic reach who are going to see your posts on a regular basis are going down. So I would much rather have 1,000 followers that are highly engaged, highly interacting with my posts, my content, my stories, all of that, than I would have 10,000 followers and, a couple hundred paying attention.
Right.
So it's really not all about your followers in numbers. It's more about who's engaged and interacting with what you do and are interested, truly interested in what you're offering.
Right. I understand what you're saying. And that's true. I mean, it's no different than customers walking into your store. I mean, you can have tons of people that are window shopping, but you want the ones that are going to actually stay and purchase. So, social media is kind of the same thing. I love that. That's great.
Exactly.
So now in business, you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, or your whole business life, I guess I should say. So how did you get started at becoming an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. So I started actually when I was 8 years old. I started my first business. Most people laugh at that, but I truly did start my own business to the point where my poor parents, both my parents were entrepreneurs. My mom had a home-based office, so she didn't realize this, but I was listening in all of the time, asking, or just asking questions, but also listening and really paying attention to how she spoke to customers, how she talked on the phone. She had emails back then. Yes, there was emails back then. And so I really paid attention to what she was doing. And yes, we were on dial-up as well. So if anybody out there remembers what that was like, it was a little painful. But I really learned the ropes that way. So watching her, following her. And so when I first started my business, I was 8 and I decided to start a babysitting club and organize my friends. And I created call scripts and marketing materials and all of these things to attract. I feel so bad for my parents, but when I was 8, I was marketing to our phone book. Some of you may remember that as a marketing material. So we had this phone book. We called all of the people in our local community asking if they needed these services. And then when people started showing up with their kids and pets, my mom realized what I had done. So that was really interesting. Like I said, I feel bad for my poor parents, but it was a really great learning experience, and it truly developed me into who I am today.
Well, it's good to get a young start.
It sure is.
So you've kind of been in the social media game for a while now. So without naming names, obviously,
Mhm.
what's some of the worst things that you've seen? Well, not worst things, but what are some of the mistakes maybe that you've seen businesses make on social media?
Definitely. There is a lot out there that, people are trying trial and error. They're testing things. They're trying to find their way. Some of the things that I have noticed is when Facebook Live came out, Instagram Live now as well. But when Facebook Live first came out, people were really trying to utilize that. Facebook really prioritizes that kind of content. So when you're using your Facebook Live, they're going to notify your followers. They're going to put it up higher in news feeds, that kind of thing. And I started noticing, just for example, some realtors, they were posting these videos of open houses or just showcasing new listings, and they didn't take the time to really learn how to use the live. And so what happens is quite often when you're using a live, you do have to move slow with the camera. You have to be patient because there can be delays depending on your internet connection, that kind of thing. And what happened is I've noticed a lot of realtors, holding their cameras like they're taking a selfie, and they're moving it so fast that sometimes it's really hard to focus, and it makes watching the video really hard. And they're kind of moving room to room fast, and you can't really see, and so it just doesn't come off as professional as you probably want to be. So when it comes to something like a live, I highly recommend either using a computer, which you can now do for lives, which you couldn't originally. So it was really great when they upgraded to that, but even just setting up your phone somewhere and then just walking around the room so they can see you in the room, something like that, to just make it look a little more professional and show that that it's a professional quality. Some other mistakes I've seen too is something I've heard the term of, you may have heard of it, it's called posting and ghosting. And what that means is the posting, a lot of businesses post, they feel like they need to post. Once people have learned to use the scheduling tools, which is a fantastic tool for many platforms, they tend to have it all set up and schedule it in advance. But what they're doing is they're forgetting to go back and engage with the people that are taking the time to engage on their pages, on these accounts. So maybe you have people asking questions or posting answers to a question that you've asked. Any of those, and the businesses are ignoring that, and that's going to lose your engagement. Your following is going to realize that, you may have asked for this question, but you really truly don't care about their answer. So it's really important to take time to go in and engage with those that are taking the time out of their day to engage with you.
Right. So the scheduling tool is good. And I know I use that a lot because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I travel and stuff like that for work so much. So sometimes I'm not around and I do want
Mm-hmm.
the consistency. But yeah, making sure that you're always going back and checking those posts
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that is a great idea. I love that
Mm-hmm.
tip. So, the other thing that we see a lot of these days is there's a lot of people who feel quite safe behind a screen. And we're seeing more and more people willing to air their grievances, whether it's true or not, on social media. So I know that every situation is different, but how do you suggest a business deals with getting a negative comment?
That is a great question. And that's something that often comes up. And what I always first try to recommend is when you're posting on behalf of your business, make sure you're posting something that's in a positive light. Because if you dive into more of a personal opinion, and it's maybe a negative opinion, then it's gonna reflect badly upon your brand, and you really don't want that. Think when you see a logo or an image from another company, and when you see it, you think warm and fuzzy thoughts. You enjoy seeing their content, you enjoy hearing from them, that kind of thing. You enjoy seeing what they offer. That's how you want others to feel when they see your brand. So really start with focusing on positive content. Yes, of course, there is negative comments. People, like you said, they do feel safe behind that screen to voice some of these opinions. And I just highly recommend always responding. So just like we talked about, don't just leave negative comments there and not respond, because that never looks good. You want to show that you do care about your followers, your audience, and that their feedback is important to you. And just always respond in a courteous way, trying to solve whatever problem they may have. You are there to solve a problem. If they have some kind of struggle, you want to show that you're there and you're willing to listen and hopefully fix that problem and do your best to fix that for them.
So even commenting and saying, we're sorry you had this experience with our business and, please contact us so that we can talk more. So by doing that, you're saying that also lets other people see that you take it sort of seriously. And then that way there too, you're not getting into, argument. Which,
Absolutely. And most of the time that resolves the situation. A lot of the time when people are commenting negatively or upset, they just want a voice, they just want to be heard, and maybe they're just too nervous to personally message and talk about that. So that can also open up that conversation and let them know that you are there to listen and you want to help them resolve this, and that can start that conversation, and you never know where that can turn into.
so we've been talking a lot about posting and making sure that you're doing it. We talked briefly about the scheduling, but I know that consistency is really important, and I teach on doing YouTube channels and I do workshops on that, and that's one thing I always tell them for YouTube, that consistency is key and you have to stick with it. And in the podcasting world, I mean, there's people, if you are not out when you say you're going to be out, those people get mad, and that. So I am sure the same thing is true for social media, but how much posting is too much? And can you post too much? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. That's a great question. And what happens, especially with how Facebook algorithm works right now, is that if you aren't posting consistently, then you kind of are dropping off the radar, if that makes sense. So it's the same with those engaging with you. So you want to make sure you're posting on a regular basis so you are getting engagement from your followers. So then that way they're going to continuously see what you're posting. So it is important to definitely consistently post. I recommend at least daily if possible. Sometimes that's a little overwhelming for business owners, so I recommend starting with 3 to 4 times a week. Have a content calendar, and I mean, we can talk more about that another time, but having that laid out in advance really helps. And then using the scheduling tools that are right in the platforms, because those are going to, like, say Facebook, for example, it'll put it up into more of an organic reach, giving you more advantage towards the followers. So posting on a regular basis, daily if possible, or 3 to 4 times a week is a great starting point.
Yes, the calendar is amazing. And actually, I know that she probably won't say it, but Ashley and I have known each other for just over 10 years now. And she is my go-to person for my social media all the time. So do not go to my accounts and see her work, because she is not the one who does it, but she is the one who will, as soon as I put Instagram is probably, as soon as I put something out on Instagram, I will get a message that goes, "You forgot hashtags." And so she's fantastic. But you do have a content calendar that you're working on right now, for people that will actually have that. So they'll have the whole year and they'll be able to sort of fill in the blanks. So I'm really excited for that to come out. And you're still in the works of that. We don't have a date for that yet. Is that correct?
No, I'll be launching that soon. So stay tuned to my social media pages. And it's a really great tool that I provide in all my workshops. And I've seen how it's worked for business owners. So I am going to release that out so you can buy that separately.
And to all my listeners, it's a fantastic tool to have. I love using it because not only does it make me stop and think at the beginning of every month what I want to post, but I can also track how well they're doing and then be able to kind of go back and sort of reassess what I'm doing. So I'm really excited for that to come out, and we will keep you posted when that comes out too. But the other thing that I've seen a lot of people do, because I have a lot of listeners who are either sole proprietors or, just starting out. And I see a lot of people that have sort of their personal and business account as sort of the same account. So is it important for people to sort of separate that?
Definitely. This is a really good question as well, because quite often, especially when it comes to Instagram, people don't know how to separate it. They don't know how to create two different accounts. They don't know how to change an account from a regular account over to an actual business account, which you have to switch in Instagram. So it's not just about putting your business name on it. You actually have to switch it. So those are really great questions. And I highly recommend having two different ones for multiple reasons. But the biggest one is privacy. So like, for example, when it comes to Instagram, you may not want to show your family life with all your kids' personal pictures. So you can privatize that account and only share those images with your friends and family, versus the business account, which you're going to be showcasing your products and your services. So I recommend having those two separate ones, especially on Instagram. For Facebook, you have to have a personal account to even open a business page. So that's really important. You don't have to necessarily use your personal account. I do highly recommend using that because you're going to have very supportive friends and family for whatever you're doing with your business, but you don't have to do that. You just need to have an account open to run a business page off there. But it is important too to make sure whatever you're posting, like I said earlier, with the positive content, that it could be used if you have posts that are going out on your personal account. It does reflect your business. Even if it's just to your friends and family, it does reflect back on your business. So I have seen people where they make posts on their personal page and they may not have those settings set as private. And I have heard of people that haven't got a job because they've posted something that didn't reflect values or the mission of an employee or employer. So
I know I find a lot of funny stuff myself on Facebook, and I don't share it for that exact reason. Because I might be laughing at it, but I laugh at it privately.
Yeah.
Don't send it out because you just, you hear that all the time, right? And it's just such an accessible thing. And I know myself having employees that's the first place I go to is I go to Facebook and Instagram and I see what it is that they're posting, because that totally reflects the type of person they truly are. Anybody can look good in an interview. So yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. So the other thing when I was doing research and just asking around for some people, the biggest question I got is, what's the deal with hashtags? So can you tell us a little bit about them and why they're so important?
Definitely. I get this question all the time. Mostly people have no idea what hashtags are. It's definitely a work in progress. And
It's the little tic-tac-toe board or the number sign, depending on how old you are.
I was going to say, or the pound sign.
Pound sign, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's the number sign. And with hashtags, you need to just think of them as a keyword. Okay. So what you're going to type into Google, that kind of thing. The important thing to remember with the hashtag is that it is all one word. So if you're using multiple words, such as, so let's say just for example, Google keyword, you have to put that all together so it's one word. So really important to be using hashtags. When they first came out, you found them a lot on Twitter. And then Facebook and Instagram has slowly integrated with those as well. It's taken Facebook a little while, but I am happy to say that Facebook does now accept those and recognize those. So you can type in hashtags into the search bar and find them. So you're going to start seeing more and more posts as people understand and learn how to use them in your Facebook posts. Now, hashtags aren't there for people to read. It's not your content. They're just there as a search option to find your posts. So they just need to be pushed down to the bottom of your text, but they do need to be in there, just not to be read. So it doesn't need to be part of your message.
Okay.
With Instagram, now it's really interesting because Instagram uses those a lot. Now you can have up to 30 hashtags in an Instagram post. I have heard a recent rumor, haven't seen the studies behind it, but that lucky number 11 is the special number for hashtags in Instagram. So anywhere from 11 to 30 is what you can use. Something I've recently learned that if you go to punch in hashtags and you go to 31, anything over 30, it won't even post your text. You'll have to delete the post and start again. So make sure you have less than 30 in your post for that. And I have heard as well that if you post, and I researched this a little bit, if you post hashtags in the comments below, that people are thinking maybe that's the way that your posts will be found easier. It's a bit of a trend right now. But after doing some research, I found that Instagram won't actually recognize those in their search engines right away. There's a delay by putting them in the comments versus your actual post. So definitely stick to putting some hashtags in your post first, and then you can try them in your comments as well. That may work, but put them in the text, the original post. So that's really important to remember as well. And one last thing with the hashtags in Instagram that I absolutely love now is Instagram has now an option under the search bar. You can type in a hashtag and see how many posts are associated with that hashtag. Now, this is great for any platforms. You can go in and see what's a current trending one. Two things to remember though, with that, if it's in the millions, your post probably isn't going to be seen. So you may be using one that's a little too generic. Now, if you're posting one that doesn't have any posts associated with it or just a couple, again, people may not be looking for that. So maybe finding your happy medium in there, but definitely do your research on those.
So you gave me probably because I always forget my hashtags, which I mentioned before. I always get that text message saying you didn't put your hashtags in. So I'm really bad for it, but you gave me one of the best tips for remembering your hashtag. So will you share that with my listeners today?
Okay, just for you. Yes. So one of the things that have helped me the most, and I love sharing this tip, is setting aside Instagram, let's back up, is an app on your phone. It's meant to be a mobile app. It doesn't necessarily, you can use it on your desktop, but not all the features are available. So majority of the time you are going to be doing this off your phone. So on your phone, you will have an app like Notes. If it's an iPhone, Android has one, I believe that is similar. And put all your hashtags in there that you use on a regular basis, split it up by the types of posts that you're making. So just as an example, maybe you're doing a motivational Monday post every Monday. Have all the hashtags that you like to use and save them in your notes, because this is going to save you so much time. And then you're not going to be worrying about where your hashtags are and that you forgot to put them in, because Instagram likes having those hashtags in there when you first post. So it's really important for your post to show up in their news feeds by having that in there in their search bar. So making sure that you're putting them in there, it really helps to have that, what I call a bank of them in sitting there waiting for you.
And I love this idea because it's so simplistic, but I never thought of it. And it's so easy to just write my post, copy and paste and then all of my hashtags are right there. So
exactly,
that is one of my favorite tips. So now I'm huge in collaboration. It's what I work in. It's what my biggest passion is. And I know that you have used collaboration quite successfully on social media. So can you tell us a couple of the ways that you've used collaboration in social media and how it's worked for you?
Absolutely. And I have to say, I always use you as an inspiration with my collaboration, and I love brainstorming ideas and how I can do this. And one of the ways that I collaborated without really realizing it was when I first started my company, I decided the first thing was I wanted to collaborate and work with other business owners and really help give them exposure. And so, what I decided to do was create an event online on my Facebook page that was called the 12 Days of Christmas, where I gave away a prize from a different business every day. And this went over huge. The engagement was phenomenal, and I was collaborating with multiple local businesses. So that was incredible. Then the next thing I found out was a speaker I had worked with that was out of Colorado in the States. Saw what I was doing, loved the collaboration idea, loved how I was working with the other business owners, how I was creative with that, and shared it to all of his contacts across the United States and some into Canada as well. And I just thought that was super neat. So it was another great way of collaborating. One of my other examples that I loved as well is through my social media, I was asked to collaborate on an event and help out with an event using social media, showing what and using what I've done with my events on social media and helping this one out in San Diego. So it was definitely not local because we're in Alberta. San Diego just seemed like such a big deal. So it was really neat to work with a variety of businesses and work with the organizers of this event and help them out with an event down in the States as well.
That's awesome. Now, as a business owner, it can be really hard. And I know you had mentioned this before that, when we were talking about the amounts of times to post and sometimes you can get kind of really busy working in your business. So what are some of the things or what are some of the ways that people can get help with their social media if they can't, finding that they can't do it themselves?
Right. And I honestly believe that this is a great point to come to in your business, because this is when a business owner is going through a growth phase and they realize they can't do it all and it's time to start delegating. So this is really important. And this is where I highly recommend reaching out, to a social media coach like myself and booking some one-on-one time, finding out exactly where you're at, getting that audit of your social media accounts, seeing where you're at, seeing how you can improve. Then if you're at the point where you decided, I really don't find my time is valued here, spending it on this, I'd rather be working on my business instead of in my business, then this is a great time to go ahead and look at somebody that is a social media manager, asking them to help with creating that content and doing the posting and the scheduling and all of that as well, because that takes a lot of time and stress off your shoulders and allows you to do and focus more on what you're passionate about and what you're meant to do.
So not everybody is as lucky as me that has you in their, in their favorites phone calls and is able to text you all the time. But I still am probably the first one in line to take your workshops, and I've taken almost all of them. Instagram is the next one that I want to take. And I know you have some that are coming up we just seem to travel at the same time. So I'll get to that one eventually, I promise. But where can people find some info about your workshops? And can you tell us a little bit about what they'll learn at them?
Definitely. So all the workshop information is available on my website at ashleymeadahl.com. And the locations, I do travel for these. So I get booked by different communities. So I'm really excited to be doing a variety this year across Western Canada. And so what I found is I used to teach Instagram and Facebook separately, but I have found over the past year and a half, I would say, because they are working together, because Facebook now owns Instagram, there's so much integration happening that it's really important to know how to use both of them. And so I've now combined it. So it's just one workshop talking about Facebook and Instagram. We really dive in deep on how to use each of them, how to find your ideal clients on there, how to create that content and content that's going to work for your audience specifically, and come out with a strategy. And how to simplify that strategy for you. So it's really great way to narrow everything down and take that stress off your shoulders.
So I know you kind of are having a tour across Alberta right now, but if there is a place that you are not scheduled at, how would people get a hold of you to get you to come to their town and teach this workshop?
Definitely. Great question. So again, you can go to my website at ashleymeadahl.com. You can email my team at bookings@premiereventmanagement.ca, and we can check the calendar and see when I'm on tour and what would work for other communities, and see if I'm in your area around then.
And you also do webinars as well, correct?
Yes, I do teach some online courses as well when my schedule permits it. And so if you can't get to one in person, I do online as well.
And that can be found on your website as well, then those
Yes,
dates.
you
That's
bet. All
awesome.
on there.
And totally worth going to them. I learned so much stuff that I was like, how did I not know this before? So you have a lot of great
Thank
tips that,
you.
and I tried not to make sure that you didn't share them all here, but I think that for myself, one of the biggest things was really making sure that I was on top of my social media, and when I couldn't, to reach out and get some help, because that consistency thing is such a key, and that's a good thing. Like you had said, it is a good thing when you're busy. So what are some of the things, though, because there's so many people who are out there, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm,
you're just inundated with you know um coaches and
mhm,
accountabilities and all that other stuff. So if
mhm.
you could give like a tip, what is something that somebody should look for in their social media coach in when they're trying to find one?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that definitely kind of give them an interview, ask them questions, ask how they work, ask what they offer, and how it would work if it's if it's a one-time coaching, or if it's ongoing. So, for example, we set up an accountability program when I do ongoing monthly coaching, and I really break it down. So we have weekly tasks, monthly tasks. We review the previous month, and we also set up strategies for the future month. So really review what they offer, what's included, and make sure that fits with what you're looking for.
I love that. That's awesome. So I know you're really busy because I know you're actually heading out on the road here in just a couple of hours. So what if you could just leave us with one tip? What would the tip be that you would leave us with today?
That is a good question. The one thing that I like to remind entrepreneurs and business owners on a regular basis when it comes to social media is you are not there to just sell, sell, sell. I want you to remember and write this down. Serve before sell. And what that means is serving your audience, providing them with education, empowering them, educating them, and connecting them, and serving them with valuable content before you try to sell with them. Show them that you are the expert so that they become aware of what you do, what you offer, and put yourself in that expert position. So when they come to look for you or they need something, then they're going to come to you and think of you first because you've already provided them with such value that they know you're going to be the right person to come to.
I love that. Serve before sell. You heard it here first. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me today. It's always such a pleasure to chat with you and learn more for you. I always learn something from you every time we talk.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
One of my favorite things about living in a small town is you just get to meet so many talented people that are right in your area. And I just feel so fortunate that I was able to not only meet Ashley and get to work with her, to volunteer with her, but also the friendship that we've created over the years. She's just such a wealth of knowledge. And after the show, I asked her if there was anything that she'd be willing to offer the Foxy listeners, just as a little bit of a thank you for coming out and listening to my show. And as always, true to just who she is, she came out with amazing offers. So if you head over to her website, which is ashleymeadahl.com, and we'll have all of the links in the description for this podcast as well, you just need to use the code Fox Talks, FOXTALKS, all one word, and you can get $50 off. Now, this is $50 off whether you want to take a workshop or whether you want to have a one-on-one call and really be able to dig deep about your personal business, about what it is that you want to do. So again, that is code Fox Talks and you'll get $50 off. So thank you so much to Ashley and her team for that amazing offer. And guys, remember, it's social media. So make sure that you are being social out there. And you're going to be able to follow Ashley on her podcast, which is available on all of the avenues: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Spreaker, all of those. We'll have the links down below. You'll also be able to find them on our website. And it is called the Glow Getter Podcast. And you are going to tune into that. You're going to want to make sure that you follow her on Facebook, because she has an amazing VIP club that she is starting. You're going to be able to find me there. I was the very first one to sign up, and I'm really excited about it. So that is going to be releasing in the next couple of days. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So again, get out there, be social, find where your target market is, like Ashley said, and head in that area. And if you want any more information or you have some more questions, reach out, because she's always there to answer any questions that she can. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's episode, and remind you that I would appreciate so much if you subscribed to our podcast wherever it is that you're listening. And if you can take a few extra minutes to leave me a review. I always love to hear what it is that you have to say. And if you're interested in being a guest on my show, you can head over to my website at foxtalksbusiness.ca, and you will be able to see a link to fill out a questionnaire so that you can become a guest on the show. So this is a new thing that we're doing, and we're so excited already on the feedback that we've already gotten in. So make sure you get your request as soon as possible, and my assistant will get back to you as soon as she can. I'm always excited to hear about what you're doing. You can as well find us on Facebook and Instagram. My name is Tanya Fox. You are listening to Fox Talks Business, and I want to remind you to have fun, because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?